Hey, friends, and welcome to a very special episode of Trying to with Leah. I actually waited a little over a week before making this video because I really wanted to make sure that it wasn't just a fluctuation, but it is official. I have lost over 100 pounds. And in a way, it doesn't even feel real. But in another way, it feels very real because it took a really long time to get here. And although I'm very proud of all of the work that I put in to lose that weight, that's not even what I'm most proud of. A few years ago, I was 236 pounds and I was working full time and I was a wife and a mom and a dedicated people pleaser with absolutely no healthy boundaries. And in the middle of taking care of everybody else, I constantly neglected to take care of myself. I was dealing with fibromyalgia and high blood pressure and chronic anxiety and depression. And that was like the tip of the iceberg of health issues. And I was exhausted constantly. And I just remember thinking, is this really what the rest of my life is going to be like? Because if it is, I really don't know how much longer I can keep doing that. And that realization really hurt because I wanted to be around for the people that I love and care about as long as possible. And I think that's actually what finally pushed me to make the change. When people ask me how I've lost so much weight, my answer is usually self love because that's what it really was. It just started with one decision. I decided to dedicate myself to loving myself. And that was a really foreign concept for me because I'd spent my entire life up until that point believing that putting myself last is what made me a good person. I thought that sacrificing myself for everybody else is exactly what real love looks like. But eventually I realized that's not love. That just leaves you feeling empty. If you pour love into people who don't reciprocate it, all you're left with is emptiness. And maybe that's why when people ask me what I'm most proud of, it's not actually how much weight I've lost, it's who I became while I was losing that weight. Because I finally became somebody that I could love unconditionally. That's actually why I named my channel Trying to with Leah. Because I don't think life is about hitting milestones and completing goals. It's really just about trying to heal and trying to take better care of ourselves and become better people, trying to become kinder and more compassionate, and trying to take accountability and set healthy boundaries and love yourself more, you know? And most importantly, I think it's about trying to become somebody that you're proud of. I think that trying is the point, because trying means that you've decided that you want a better future for yourself and you are going to actively work to get there. I know that I've said this before and I will probably say it 100 more times on my channel, but I love this saying. The meaning of life is the meaning you give it. We don't control everything that happens to us. And sometimes our lives are going to be incredibly unfair. We're going to lose people and opportunities. And sometimes we're just put in situations that we never even asked for. But even then, even in the darkest and hardest parts of our lives and our journey, we still have ourselves and we still have the power of our own choices. We can still ask, where am I today and where do I want to be? And you don't even have to see the whole bridge that gets you there because really all you need is just the next step. And for me, that first step was ridiculously small. It literally started with one walk around the block. That's it. It was like 15 minutes, but it was 15 minutes that I dedicated to myself every single evening. I'm not going to go through the whole process because I've already talked about it in the earlier videos and you're welcome to watch those. But that walk became my safe place. It was the first time all day long where I wasn't trying to be everything for everybody else. I didn't have to be mom and wife and friend and coworker and daughter and sister and all of that stuff. I was just Leah, you know, thinking and breathing and trying very hard to quiet my mind. and process my day instead of just distracting it or numbing it away, And before long, I actually really started to look forward to it. That was the highlight of my day. And then it started becoming longer and it grew into like 30 minutes and 45 minutes. And as the habit grew, my strength grew and my confidence grew and my health improved. And then my weight started changing. But most importantly, I started changing. Looking back, I think everything really came down to one thing, and that's self worth. You know, when you make a lot of mistakes in your life, self worth is really hard to see. But maybe instead of constantly looking for your self worth, maybe you just decide that you have it. Maybe you decide, you know what, I am worth taking care of. Because I think that once you make that decision, your choices start changing. You start protecting your peace and you start saying no and setting healthy boundaries. And you start making healthier choices for yourself because you actually care. You stop abandoning yourself just to make everybody else comfortable and you start treating yourself like you're somebody worth fighting for. And you are. And once that starts happening, I think that everything else starts changing too, or at least it did for me. Your perspectives, your relationships, really your entire life changes at that point. One thing I really wasn't expecting was how much my relationships changed. I realized that I had spent years letting certain relationships become completely one sided. I always wanted to be the dependable one and the loyal one and the one who's always there for you when you need her. But when you start seeing your own self worth, you also start seeing when other people don't. Now, there were only a few people that I actually had to remove from my life, but most of my relationships didn't end. A lot of them didn't even change, but some needed healthier boundaries. And something really interesting started happening when I enforced those boundaries because the people who genuinely cared about me respected them easily, encouraged them even. And the people who only liked me when I didn't have the boundaries, they disappeared. It's actually amazing how clearly people show you who they are when you just stop making excuses for them. But the ones that are worth keeping around, they make it clear that they value you. I've always been the type of person that I say I love you to my friends and people that I value, as well as family and significant others. And I try to make it a point to say it every single time I talk to them because the fact of the matter is, none of us are guaranteed anything, not even a single day. So if you love somebody and you value them, you should let them know frequently and you shouldn't have to keep quiet about it because it's a gift when you love someone and you should share it with them. So this week, I am celebrating this 100-pound weight loss milestone with my family and friends. But honestly, I'm even more excited to celebrate something even bigger. I am celebrating the fact that so many people who are close to me have started making changes in their own lives. I want you to know that I see you guys and I see you working on yourselves and watching the people that I love become healthier and happier and more peaceful has been one of the greatest gifts that I've ever been given. So, thank you to the people who are watching and who are close with me. You know who you are. And I'm incredibly proud of you. So, keep going. Ooh, got a little emotional there. Whoops. Whoopsie. Okay, so before I wrap this up, I wanted to show you guys a little piece of the last 3 years. Back at the beginning of this journey, sometimes when I was walking on my treadmill, I filmed myself reaching my daily walking goal. And I usually preferred walking outside, but back then I wasn't really confident enough to film myself out in public. So those little videos kind of became a way to hold myself accountable when nobody else was watching. I don't have footage from every stage, but I did find some pictures that kind of help show the progression. And that's not because, the weight loss is what matters most, but it's actually because I'm hoping that it's a great reminder of what can happen for you if you keep showing up for yourself every single day.
3 years ago, I made the decision to finally start taking care of myself. I had spent so much of my life putting everyone else first that I honestly didn't know who I was anymore. So I started small. One walk, one choice, and one day at a time. And somewhere along the way, I found parts of myself that I didn't even know I'd lost. I'm incredibly proud of losing 100 pounds, but the person I became along the way means so much more. I found my confidence and my peace, and even learned to accept my quirky, goofy, accident prone side. So, if you're waiting for a sign to start choosing yourself, this is it, because you deserve the same love and care and effort that you give to everyone else. I hope you get to look back at your own journey one day and see just how far you've come and realize you found yourself too.
Editing that video and watching it back literally had me in tears, y'all. Like, I have never thought I would be this proud of myself, but I don't even feel bad about it because I busted my butt every day to get there. Like, I earned it. But, this isn't the finish line. There isn't a finish line. I may have completed a goal, but this is a lifestyle of self love. And it's proof that the lifestyle that I've built is one that I want to keep living. I'm never going to stop trying to become a better person, a better version of myself, and that's inside and out. And I hope that you guys don't either. So, for this week's challenge, I want you to do something that I am calling a self care cleanse. Ask yourself what needs to go in your life. Maybe it's a habit that's holding you back, or constant negative self talk, or maybe it's clutter that's making you feel overwhelmed, or maybe it's unhealthy boundaries or relationships that are draining you more than they're giving to you. But whatever it is, start cleansing your life of those things that don't actually benefit the person that you're trying to become. And then ask yourself the opposite question: what can I add that's going to help me take better care of myself? Maybe it's a daily walk, or maybe it's just reading for 10 minutes or drinking more water. But whatever works for you that actually fills your cup back up. And then just start replacing the things that pull you away from yourself with the things that bring you back to yourself. Because those little choices have a way of building you a completely different life before you even realize it's happening. So if you are ready to do your own self-care cleanse, let me know down in the comments, because I'd love to hear about something that you're ready to let go of, or maybe a new habit that you're excited to start, or maybe you hit a milestone of your own recently. So thank you guys so much for being here and celebrating this 100-pound weight loss milestone with me. And if you are interested in changing your own life choice by choice, I hope you follow along so you can see every step of the journey. I appreciate every single one of you guys, and I will see you next week. Take care of yourselves, because life gets so much better when you try.